All right. Let's go ahead and take Ethan's question. This is an interesting one, and it's one that we might get some serious debate about during this season. Which is the better job, USC or LSU? So both these programs have won national titles in the last 20 years. Both these programs have shown that if you do it right, you can have sustained dominance, right? And both these programs have ridiculous recruiting bases. So, of course, that's why they have that sustained dominance uh, over long periods of time. But they also have shown that if you don't get the right guy in there, they can fail. USC has not lived up to its potential over the last decade or so. Part of that was coming off the Reggie Bush sanctions that, in my opinion, were unfair and would not be levied in the same way today if the committee, Council of Infractions was in place. But LSU has also struggled at times in the last decade, but not to the same extent as USC. LSU has SEC TV money, but they also have much stiffer competition. So they have more resources, but their opponents also have more resources. I believe that USC actually has a larger resource edge in terms of finances compared to its competition in the market, right? So their Pac-12 competition as opposed to LSU, where like is LSU going to outspend Alabama or A&M or Georgia or maybe a Florida, schools like that? Probably not. They all get huge checks from the SEC network. They're all going to spend like crazy. Where LSU benefits relative to the SEC is that it is the only SEC school in its state. That is something pretty important there to note, because they really don't lose very many kids from in their state to other programs, even when they're not doing well. Kids in the state of Louisiana are born and they believe they're just kind of ordained to go to LSU in most circumstances. Now, there's some pockets up there in the Monroe area, kind of the Arklatex corridor, if you will, where kids will leave the state. But for the most part, most of the kids that LSU wants in its own state, it gets. USC, though, when it's right, does the exact same thing in the Los Angeles area and realistically, west of the Rockies. Geographically, I used to say that USC has right of first refusal on any kid it wants west of the Rockies, and that's no longer ironclad. Kids are now willing to travel much farther away from home than they used to. However, they still, if USC is right, they're going to get guys who they want. From Bosco, from Modern Day, from all those powerhouse schools out there. I do not believe there's enough talent on the West Coast to have 4 and 5 and 6 elite programs out there right now. But if USC can go back to doing what it was doing, which was keeping the best players on the West Coast home, it absolutely can be as good as any program in the country. The issue there is not the quality of talent for the most part. It is the volume of quality, as of quantified in some articles, where there's some talent flight from out west going to other states at the high school level. They don't have enough big bodies to sustain, a ton of elite programs. But can you sustain 1 or 2 elite programs out west? Absolutely can. And USC has a leg up on everybody if they do it right. That's why when we saw the live chat yesterday with the news that Clay Helton got fired, Oregon fans are like, please don't say Cristobal. Please don't say Cristobal. Please don't say Cristobal, because they know how good of a recruiter he is in Southern California when USC is down. They have not had to see Mario Cristobal recruit against a USC program when it's up. So for me, these jobs are really sort of in the same stratosphere. And it comes down to, where do you want to be? If you're at USC, you are not as much of a fishbowl as you are in LSU. But where are you more comfortable recruiting, right? At LSU, do you think Ed Orgeron can go out to dinner without being accosted? Is not the right word, but probably ask for an autograph or, hey, coach. At USC, that's a big enough city to where you can be sort of anonymous. So if you want to be able to go out to dinner with your wife and sort of check out from work for a little bit, not that you're not famous, but you're just not as famous as movie stars and celebrities and that type of thing in LA. But where do you want to recruit? Do you want to recruit SoCal? Do you want to recruit more in the state of Louisiana? Where are your contacts at the high school level? Where are the guys you want to bring in to help you from? Those all matter. So really, I don't have a huge opinion, assuming that USC is going to pony up and spend at the level it needs to spend it. If it goes cheap, then LSU's a better job, even though the competition at LSU is stronger. I do think your longevity prognosis is better at USC. I think you're much more likely to be able to hold a job down for 10 years if you want it at USC than you are at LSU, simply because there's so much more talent you have to face in the SEC. There are many more losable games in the SEC than there are in the Pac-12 if you're doing it right. For instance, if LSU is at peak efficiency, they could still lose to an A&M or a Bama or a Georgia or Florida in a given year, multiple games. If USC is at peak efficiency, they will be favored in every game that they play in the Pac-12 every single year. Their ceiling is not reachable by anybody else in that league, and that includes Oregon. And I think Oregon is doing a really good job hitting its ceiling and maybe raising its ceiling a little bit.